The thing I seem to love most on this earth are these seemingly useless, highly abstract ideas about cultural and economic philosophy, and I think you would love them too if only there was somebody smart and charming on YouTube to parcel these complex topics out to you in an exciting and entertaining way. Well, it seems that Lady Fortuna is shining upon you today, my friend. I would like to introduce you to one of my favorite ideas that you probably never heard of. Lindy. Lindy is something that I take into account in all of my decision making. It's been an important tool to how I predict how the future will unfold, and it can help me distinguish between ideas that are actually valuable in society over what's just popular and trendy. What the heck is Lindy? The Lindy Effect predicts the life expectancy of something intangible by referencing how long it's been around until now. Basically, it claims that the longer something has been around, the longer it's likely to stay around, and the newer something is, the sooner it is likely to go away. This is not a math formula. Its value might be hard to understand when you first hear it. It's incredibly obscure. It's not a hard science. It's just this interesting phenomenon. It's completely elegant in its simplicity, but powerful in what you can learn from it. And I've been dwelling over Lindy for a few years, and the more that I think about it, the more value I find in it. Let me break it down a little bit more. I'll give you some examples, and then it'll make sense, and you will love Lindy too. When humanity creates an idea, a movement, or a technology that we find useful, we use it, right? The more useful the idea and the better the solution is, and the more applications it fits, and the more we use it, the longer humanity will keep it around. If you take a step back and look at civilization from a long timeline, you'll find that lousy ideas come and go pretty quickly, and good ideas have mostly stuck around. The better the idea, the longer it lasts. The worse the idea, the faster it goes away. Does this seem obvious and simple? Let's take some examples that I think will really make you ponder this phenomenon, and let's use some polarizing examples, because what's the point of all your brain power if you don't want to stretch it out a little bit? Are you ready? You know, I'll never be really great on social media because I'm not trendy. I mostly hate trends. Kind of always have, probably always will. Trends are not Lindy, they're the opposite of Lindy. Television, fashion, art, music, and social media, all are riddled with short-term, superficial trends that people go bananas for, and I just could not be bothered to care about short-term thinking or short-term stuff. I'm too busy being timeless, baby. Now, it's impossible to know if I love Lindy because it's fundamentally skewed against trendiness and I use it as a pretentious-sounding way to justify a subconscious bias of mine against fun cultural norms that I'm salty about not being part of, or maybe trends really are lame, superficial, and often hyper-commercialized events that we get sucked into and distracted by, which prevents us from taking the time to appreciate the true value in art and traditions that have stood the test of time, and Lindy just happens to validate my position. There's just no way to know which one of those two is correct. Trends come in fast and leave fast. They might feel potent at the time, but Lil Nas X ain't Lindy, sorry to say. Shakespeare's Lindy. Books are Lindy. One of my main ways to choose what books I read is by measuring how Lindy that book is. What is more likely to have greater value? A new book written by a new author about a current event, or a book that has stayed in print for 500 years? There are millions of books written every year, and most of them don't stay in print for even 3 years. The Bible was written 2,000 years ago, and it had to be copied by hand. The vast majority of people weren't literate, and the books were incredibly expensive. The printing press, the Gutenberg printing press, wouldn't be invented for another 1,400 years. Just think about how many chances the Bible had to disappear or be replaced. The fact that it made it through time gives it immensely more value over the book that was written 6 months ago. And the likelihood that any book written in 2021 will last 2,000 years is extremely low. Now, I'm not here to suggest that you go off and read the Bible because it's the most valuable book ever written, but what about books that were written even 50 or 100 years ago? When a book lasts 100 years after the author's dead, you know that it has more value because the author isn't making any money on it and people are still printing it. So many books written by entrepreneurs, influencers, politicians, and pundits are solely trying to sell you a book and establish themselves as credible. These books are largely bullshit and will be out of print quickly, which means they're a waste of your time unless you are likely to consume bullshit, which is a popular pastime. But if you want value, then go for books that are Lindy. Books that have stood the test of time, that the authors can't profit from, that have no political opinion to sell you, that aren't based on shallow current events, and yet humanity has decided yet to keep around anyway. This is where all the valuable knowledge is. I understand that talking about the Bible and religion can make people feel awkward, so my next example will be far less polarizing. Fiat currency in some form has been around for 1,000 years. Cryptocurrency has been around for 12 years. It is obvious which one is more Lindy. This example is great though, because Lindy doesn't determine what the world will become. It just says that what is most likely based on the history of a specific phenomenon. Crypto bulls say that blockchain technology is going to revolutionize our payment system forever, and fiat currency as we know it is dead forever. And they damn well may be right. But despite all the hype and all the confidence, the Lindy Effect says that the transition is going to take longer than some may want you to think. This has nothing to do with Bitcoin or crypto as a means to invest. Rather, I'm looking at the overall time it'll take for mass adoption. The fiat system has flaws, and humanity will always welcome a superior system. But just as replacing religions with rationalism didn't work, replacing a flawed system for an inferior system will not work. Bitcoin, for example, is highly volatile, which makes it, at the moment, a terrible currency. How would you like getting paid 2 Bitcoin for the year? At 63K a pop, that's 126 grand, but halfway through the year, you find out your salary just went down 50%. This is not sustainable. You don't need to understand crypto to understand this problem. You just need to know how Lindy works. Central banking is old. Crypto is new. For now, bet on central banking. As crypto grows, sticks around, and finds more implementations, then it'll become more Lindy. The Ford Motor Company has been around for over 100 years. They make around 10 million cars a year, including the Ford F-150, which is America's highest volume selling vehicle. Ford has 8 manufacturing plants just in the US. They have survived 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the 2008 recession. They have seen 21 different American presidents and 14 CEOs. They make profits year in and year out. They pay their investors dividends. They are one of the most Lindy companies in American culture. Meanwhile, Tesla, a company that is only 12 years old and who sells less than 500,000 cars per year, has only 1 manufacturing plant in all of the US, only started cutting out profits last year and has seen mostly all of their success during this latest economic boom. And yet somehow the market cap is 10 times what Ford's is, at least at the time of this video. Ford is valued at $61 billion, Tesla at $563 billion. Same as my last example, none of this claims that Tesla won't succeed, nor that they can't become the biggest manufacturer of cars in the world, as some claim. Lindy does claim, however, that it's far, far, far more likely that Ford will remain a giant and Tesla will continue to struggle. In fact, as Ford, General Motors, Volkswagen have all formally announced an all-electric future, the competitive advantage that Tesla has as a leader in the electric car manufacturing diminishes. Tesla has a very long uphill battle to create their own Lindy. To summarize, if you want to invest in speculative technologies with high volatility and big potential upsides, then Tesla, crypto is the way to go. Do you want to spend your time reading the newest books from gurus, politicians trying to sell you their bullshit, or trendy authors trying to hit the next big cultural lottery? Then buy new books. Do you want to spend your time wisely by reading books that have proven their worth over the test of time? Then buy books that are Lindy. Humans are prone to cognitive bias, short-term thinking, shiny objects, fancy narratives, none of which helps us become good decision makers. People and the way the world works actually changes quite slowly if you take a step back and look at things critically. So if you want to predict how the world will flesh out, most likely in the long run, don't think of fancy reinventions and brand new ideas. Think about what's Lindy. Thank you for watching this video. I'm very grateful to be able to talk about these neat ideas and hope you found value in learning about Lindy. If you're one of the 66% of people who watch my videos and then don't subscribe and you got all the way to this point in the video, then you owe me a click. Pay up, bro. It's the red button.